My parents told my 18-year-old daughter they needed her college fund for a life-or-death surgery. She gave them everything. 10 days later, they gifted $45,000 to my niece. I didn't make a scene. I acted in silence. 10 days later, a woman knocked on their door and handed them a letter. They opened it and started screaming. I'm Luis, 42 years old, and I live with my daughter Sophia, a teen in a quiet city. She's my world, a smart girl with big plans. Since her mother and I separated 10 years ago, I've worked hard to give her the best. This story is about how my family betrayed her and how I responded without causing a fuss. 3 months ago, Sophia came home crying. I sat with her, and she told me something that left me in shock. My parents, her grandparents, asked for the $45,000 in her college fund. They said my mother needed an urgent operation, something life or death, and that insurance wouldn't cover it all. Sophia, with her huge heart, withdrew the money from a bank and gave it to them. She didn't tell me because my parents asked her not to, so I wouldn't worry. I was speechless. That fund was years of our effort. I put in every extra dollar, and Sophia contributed what she earned in the summers. It was for her dream of studying psychology at a good university. I was furious, but Sophia begged me not to get angry, saying she did out of love for her grandparents. I decided to wait and talk to my mother. She confirmed the operation, saying it was in 2 weeks and everything would be fine. Something didn't add up, but I trusted her. My mistake. 10 days later, we went to dinner at my parents' house. My sister Daniela, her 25-year-old daughter Valeria, and other relatives were there. Everything seemed normal until my mother stood up, smiling, and announced they had given Valeria $45,000 for a house down payment. Everyone clapped except Sophia and me. I felt a knot in my stomach. Sophia squeezed my hand, her eyes shining with pain. I said nothing there. My mind was chaos. The money Sophia gave to save my mother was now a gift for my niece. I looked at my mother, but she avoided my gaze. My father, as always, just nodded. Valeria talked about her new house, oblivious to Sophia. That night, Sophia locked herself in her room. I heard her crying, but she said she wanted to be alone. I didn't sleep, thinking about what to do. I wanted to yell at my parents, but I knew it wouldn't help. They always justify everything, and Daniela would back them. I decided to act with a clear head. The next day, I talked to Sophia. She was broken but also angry. She felt used, having lost her dream to a lie. I promised to get her money back. I asked her not to confront her grandparents yet. I needed proof. I started investigating. I called the hospital and confirmed my mother had no operation scheduled. I checked Sophia's bank statements, showing the transfer to my parents. I found an email from my mother asking for the money, with vague excuses about the surgery. Everything pointed to a lie. I decided to talk to my mother calmly. I invited her for coffee and was direct. I told her I knew there was no operation, and the money went to Valeria. I expected an apology, but she got defensive. She said Valeria needed the house more than Sophia needed college, that Sophia could work or take loans. I was stunned. I asked why they didn't ask me for the money, and she said Sophia was easier to convince. She showed no remorse. When I told Sophia, her pain turned to anger. She wanted her money back, not just for herself, but to teach them they couldn't play with people. I told her I'd support her, but this could tear the family apart. She said she no longer felt she had one. I contacted a lawyer friend, Marcos. I told him everything, and he said we had a strong case but needed solid proof. I gathered emails, bank statements, and recorded a conversation where my mother admitted the lie. I didn't feel good recording her, but it was for Sophia. The family started suspecting. Daniela called me, furious, saying I was selfish and should think of Valeria. My father texted, saying he was disappointed I was dividing the family. No one mentioned what they did to Sophia. 10 days after dinner, I acted. I didn't yell or fight. I hired a courier to deliver a letter to my parents, a legal notice from Marcos demanding the $45,000 back in 30 days, or we go to court. I knew they wouldn't pay easily, but I was ready to fight. When they opened the letter, they called me shouting, saying it was a betrayal, that I was humiliating them. I calmly said I just wanted justice for Sophia, then hung up. I sat with my daughter, and for the first time in days, I saw hope in her eyes. This was just the beginning. The fight for Sophia's money would be tough, and the consequences would change everything. But I knew I did the right thing. I didn't need to shout. The truth and the law would speak for us. The days after sending the letter were tense. My parents didn't call again, but Daniela left a furious voicemail saying I was destroying the family over Sophia's whim. I saved it. Every word was more proof of their refusal to see the harm done. Sophia tried to move on, going to classes and working weekend at a cafe, but I saw how the betrayal weighed on her. Sometimes I found her staring at her college acceptance letter, eyes lost. Marcos got to work. He said our case was strong with the bank statements, my mother's email, and the recording of her admitting the lie. But he warned that my parents wouldn't give up easily. They were proud and always found ways to justify themselves. He asked if I was ready to go to court. I didn't hesitate. For Sophia, I'd go all the way. While Marcos prepared the lawsuit, I tried to keep things normal for Sophia. One night over pizza, she asked if I thought her grandparents loved her. It broke my heart. I said yes, but sometimes people do selfish things without thinking of others. She nodded but didn't seem convinced. I realized this wasn't just about the money. It was about restoring her trust in family. A week later, my parents responded to the letter, not with an apology or the money, but with a note from their lawyer friend. It said Sophia gave the money voluntarily, and they had no obligation to return it. They also hinted that if we pursued the lawsuit, they'd make our lives difficult. I showed the note to Marcos, and he smiled. "This is perfect," he said. "They're admitting they got the money. We just need to prove it was under deception." I gathered more evidence. I spoke to a distant aunt who was at the family dinner. She confirmed my parents had talked about Sophia's generosity before announcing the gift of Valeria. She also said my mother bragged about convincing Sophia with the operation story. Every word hurt, but also gave me strength. This wasn't just about the $45,000. It was about justice. The family split. Some cousins supported Sophia, saying what my parents did was wrong. Others close to Daniela and Valeria turned their backs on us. Valeria texted, saying Sophia was being dramatic and she'd get over it. I read it and saved it without replying. Sophia saw it and said calmly, "She doesn't even feel bad, does she?" I shook my head. There was nothing to say. Marcos met with us to discuss the lawsuit. He explained it would hinge on fraud and abuse of trust. Sophia would have to testify, recounting what happened before a judge. At first, her voice broke at the thought, but then she said she was ready. "I don't want them to think they can get away with it," she said. I was proud, though I feared the emotional toll. The court set a preliminary hearing for a month later, giving us time, but also room for more family drama. My parents spread their version, saying Sophia manipulated us, and I was a controlling father after their money. I heard it from distant relatives, neighbors, even clients at my electrician job. I didn't respond. Let them talk. Every lie they spread was another nail in their coffin. One afternoon, while reviewing papers with Marcos, my father called. His voice shook, not with remorse but with threat. He said if we went forward, they'd cut all contact with us. "She's your daughter, but she's our granddaughter. Think about it," he said. I hung up without replying. That night, I asked Sophia how she felt. She said it didn't hurt as much anymore. If they loved me, they wouldn't have lied, she said. I nodded. She was right. To keep us busy, I helped Sophia look for college options. We found scholarships, work-study programs, and low-interest loans. It wasn't ideal, but I assured her she'd go to that university. She smiled for the first time in a long time. "Thanks, Dad. I know we'll make it." Her strength kept me going, but the drama didn't stop. Daniela organized a family meeting without inviting us. A cousin told me my parents cried, saying we were destroying them. I also learned Valeria had used the money to buy the house. That complicated things, but Marcos said it wasn't our problem. If we won, my parents would have to repay, even if they had to sell something. One night, Sophia and I went to movies to clear our heads. On the way, she told me she'd started reading about psychology on her own. She wanted to understand why people do things like her grandparents did. "I don't want to hate them, Dad," she said. "I want to understand them." Her maturity left me speechless. I promised to support her career, no matter what. 2 weeks before the hearing, Marcos gave good news. He'd secured a surprise witness, a friend of my mother's, Anna, who was there when she planned to ask Sophia for the money. Anna felt guilty and wanted to help. She said my mother knew Sophia was trusting and used that against her. Anna also confirmed my parents gave the money to Valeria knowing where it came from. This was a blow to their defense. The preliminary hearing arrived. We entered the courtroom and saw my parents with their lawyer. They didn't look at me. Sophia was nervous but held firm. The judge listened to both sides. Marcos presented the documents and mentioned Anna's testimony. My parents' lawyer tried to discredit her, calling her a liar, but the judge didn't seem convinced. He set a full trial date for 3 months later and warned my parents that non-cooperation could lead to sanctions. We left the court with hope, but exhausted. Sophia hugged me and said, "We're doing it, Dad." I nodded but wasn't so sure. I knew the trial would be tough, and my parents would do anything to win. That night, I got a short message from my mother. "This didn't have to be this way." I didn't reply. The days after, the family grew more hostile. Daniela blocked me everywhere, and Valeria posted about how some people don't know how to forgive. My parents stopped talking to cousins who supported us, as if they wanted to erase us. But there was unexpected support. A neighbor sent food one day, saying it was for Sophia. A co-worker offered money if I needed it. Those small gestures kept us afloat. Sophia started a journal, saying it was her way to cope. Sometimes she read me parts about her feelings, her dreams, and what she hoped for the future. She said she wouldn't let this define her. I was proud but worried. She was so strong, but no one should go through this. As the trial neared, Marcos prepared us for the worst. He said my parents might twist the story in court, claiming Sophia gave the money out of love and wasn't deceived. They might also attack my character, saying I was behind it all. I told him I didn't care. What mattered was Sophia. He nodded. One night before bed, Sophia asked if I'd ever forgive her grandparents. I didn't know what to say. I told her forgiveness was complicated, but what mattered was her finding peace. She nodded and hugged me. "Thanks for fighting for me, Dad." That hug was everything. The trial was close, and the family was broken, but Sophia and I knew we couldn't stop. We'd come too far, and the truth was on our side. The consequences would be big, but we were ready to face them. The 3 months before the trial passed quickly. Marcos worked tirelessly, preparing every detail. Sophia and I practiced her testimony, ensuring she could tell her story without breaking. She was nervous but determined. "I don't want them to think they can get away with it," she said. I nodded, proud of her strength, but worried about the emotional cost. The family didn't stay quiet. My parents spread rumors, saying I was manipulating Sophia to take their money. Daniela called cousins, asking them not to talk to us. Valeria lived in her new house, posting photos on social media like nothing happened. Each post was a reminder of Sophia's money, but also of our resolve. A week before the trial, Marcos gave key news. Anna, my mother's friend, signed a sworn statement confirming my parents' plan to deceive Sophia from the start. We also got bank records showing the money went straight from my parents' account to Valeria's. With that and the recording of my mother's admission, our case was solid. The night before the trial, Sophia and I sat in the living room. She pulled out her journal and read me a page. She wrote about feeling betrayed, but also about wanting to turn this into something positive. "I'm going to study psychology to understand why people do things like this," she said. "I want to help others avoid this." I hugged her, saying she was the strongest person I knew. She smiled, but her eyes were tired. The trial day came. The courtroom was cold, and my parents sat across with their lawyer. They didn't look at me. Sophia, in a simple shirt, sat beside me, squeezing my hand. The judge, an older woman with a serious expression, started the session. Marcos presented our case calmly, showing the emails, bank statements, and recording. When Anna testified, The room went silent. She recounted how my mother laughed while planning to ask Sophia for the money, saying she was too trusting. I saw my mother lower her head, not in shame but in anger. Sophia went next. She told how her grandparents asked for money, made her believe it was for a life-or-death operation, and how she felt learning it went to Valeria. Her voice trembled, but she didn't cry. The judge listened closely, even asking gentle questions. When she finished, she looked at me and nodded as if saying, "I did it, Dad." I'd never been prouder. My parents' lawyer tried to defend them, saying Sophia gave the money out of love, and there was no proof of intentional deception. But his argument crumbled when Marcos played the recording. My mother paled hearing herself. My father just stared at the floor. The judge said little, but her expression said it all. After 2 days of testimony, the judge gave her verdict. She ruled in Sophia's favor, ordering my parents to repay the $45,000 within 60 days, plus a fine for emotional damages. She warned that noncompliance could lead to harsher consequences. Hearing the ruling, I felt immense relief. Sophia hugged me, crying, but this time from relief. My parents said nothing as they left the court. Daniela, however, yelled at me in the hallway, saying I destroyed the family. I ignored her. Valeria wasn't there, but I knew she'd hear soon. In the car, Sophia said, "Thanks, Dad. I know it wasn't easy." I told her it was all worth it for her. The next months were tough for my parents. They didn't have the money to repay, so they sold their house and moved to a small apartment outside the city. Daniela helped them, but our relationship was broken. Some relatives tried to mediate, saying we should forgive, but Sophia was clear, I can't trust them again. I backed her. Forgiveness isn't demanded, it's earned. With the money recovered, Sophia prepared for college. She got a partial scholarship and used the fund for the rest. She started psychology classes with an energy I hadn't seen since before the drama. She texted me from campus about her professors and new friends. Each message was a victory. Valeria lost a house. Without my parents' money, she couldn't keep up payments and had to sell it and move in with Daniela. I felt no satisfaction, only pity. She never apologized to Sophia or even tried to talk. I think that hurt more than anything. Years later, Sophia was in her 3rd year of college, specializing in clinical psychology, focused on understanding human behavior. One weekend at home, she showed me an essay she wrote for a class about betrayal and how it affects trust. She used her story without naming names, but made clear what she learned. People can err out of selfishness, but they can also heal if they choose to face the truth. I read it with tears in my eyes. My parents tried contacting us a couple of times, but Sophia wasn't ready to talk. Neither was I. Maybe one day we can sit and talk, but not now. The wound is deep, and trust doesn't rebuild overnight. Daniela and Valeria stayed distant, and the family was never the same. Some cousins still talk to us, and that's enough for now. One night over dinner, Sophia asked if I ever regretted fighting for her. I said no, every step was worth it. She smiled and said, "You know, Dad, I think this made me stronger. Now I know I can face anything." I nodded, throat tight. She was right. Looking back, I'd changed nothing. I didn't shout or make a scene, but I got justice for my daughter. The truth spoke for us, and the law backed us. Sophia is building her future, and I'm here to watch her shine. The family may be broken, but we're not. We're stronger than ever. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments, and subscribe for more daily stories.